Hey, we love that umbrella guy. All right. Thank you.
I'm calling from Los Angeles, and I'm having a little problem under the name ThATuMBRELLAgUY. I sent him my phone number at least 20 times in the chat and told him to call me. He ignored me. I'm a man. I filed the report. If you guys could take a look at it and give me a call back, I would love to hear what you guys can do to help us. We really need to kind of stop this guy at least until Monday. I told him to call me.
You know what? I talked to your mayor.
Stomping the floppy shoes so hard, it'll lead to class delirious. You praying to stop so much, it's like you're having a religious experience. Despite all of your denials, I know that you know me and your crew. Asked your girl the last time she phoned me. Allegedly, just admit that even now you sing along. And even after I wreck you, you gotta bump my song. You should copyright loser because the dictionary cloned you. Crushed so hard, now my cleats own you. It's that umbrella guy, clutching the verbal hammer, locking you down in this inescapable syllable slammer. You wanna step up and try to oppose me? Yeah, you should ask anyone that really knows me. I'll take your bling, your girl, your dog, and move in your home, only to get out the verbal flamethrower and consume your plastic gnomes. You drift, you whip, you ride, your bride consumed by this mic hitter, just to drop them on the market to the highest bidder. It's that umbrella guy, live from the hat rack, with elbows that hit so hard you'll think it's a nuclear impact. I mean respecting you, please, that's the word you'll never earn. Yet another lesson you clowns have never learned. Along with standing tall and pride and repping values that you feel, and not fake morals you found inside your happy meal. I listen to you with your speaking style education, wondering if your parents bred with their relations. Wearing your big red nose and still thinking that you're a star, while you're forced to bump that umbrella guy inside your clown car. Yeah, it's that umbrella guy, broadcasting live to the masses. Timing out full, sorry we ran out of free passes. We gotta go further and not just expose you. Listen and believe royalty, we gotta depose you. Getting masked up because this flow is criminal. Dropping hammers so hard, they're subliminal. Unconsciously you want me to own you, as the parasol pope is set to dethrone you. And I'm out.
What's up, folks? How's it going today? Man, I forgot to tag my freaking video correctly. I was looking at the numbers. I was like, wait a minute. Did I forget to do it? Yes, I forgot to tag my video. So if you would let people know, we are indeed live today. That is appreciated. Anytime I forget to, I notice there's like 600 or 700 people off. I'm like, wait a minute. Did I forget something? Yeah, I did. And that's a shame too, considering today we actually have some pretty interesting stuff. Like, what if I were to tell you that it looks like Marla didn't tell the truth to the court? That would be weird, right? Like, when you look at the stuff, her dates and explanations are kind of not true. That would be weird. Now, I would like to give some love to MaxLab on that too. MaxLab's like, wait a minute, man, this is crazy stuff. Like, she lied. And I started looking at it, I was like, man, there really are like flagrant freaking lies that are presented in this stuff. It's so bizarre, man. So bizarre. By the way, I do want to Rhea Raya. What's up, Rhea Raya, man? It is Rhea Raya's birthday today. Rhea Raya wants that birthday song. And of course, Rhea Raya will get a birthday song. Of course. What is this? Communist Russia? No, I'm just playing. Yes, you'll get a birthday song. We will bust out Chi-Chi's. You know what? You and all of us together, we're bringing that song back. We may not be able to bring the place back, but we'll bring that song back. So let's bust it out there. Happy birthday from all of us to you. That's the chat there, by the way. Happy birthday. May all real rise dreams come true. Oh, yeah. God, I feel that in my bones. I love it. I actually love that song. Makes me think back. You just got to imagine yourself, like close your eyes and imagine a crowded restaurant. And right before the song comes on, we slap a sombrero that is as big as the table on you. And you should be embarrassed, but you're not, because who cares, right? It used to be a joke. It was so funny though. My parents used to do that as a joke. Like my mom did every year. And she would like mess with me because I'd be like, I'm not going there. You know, I'm a teenager. I'm like, I don't want to do this. You guys are the only ones having fun doing this. So I'd be like, no. We're going to go over to this place. You know, this nice restaurant, you know. So I'm like, all right, cool. You know, we pull out, we land in Chi-Chi's. I was like, you said this nice restaurant. He was like, yeah, we meant Chi-Chi's. Just like, no, you suckered me. Oh my God. Love it. Love it. It's good for you though. But yes, we can bring that song back. So do you guys want to see some lies? Like court-laden lies. Now, in order to showcase this correctly, first I must take Marla's statement to the court. All right. Now, when Marla, you read this with me and you tell me, when did she mail this letter according to her? Okay. When would she have mailed her stuff? So this was her motion to set aside, which was granted, by the way. But she noted at the second part of it, my sincerest apologies for the late response. I was negotiating with a potential attorney and sent a motion for continuance per se before, notice that key word there, before the default, right? So you would agree with me when we read this. Yes, this would be before the date that the default was actually noted. Yeah. I mean, that all makes sense. I'm going to make sure in the chat you agree with that, right? Before. I realize that the ecosystem has a lot of problems with words, you know, like what words mean and stuff, but before means predates. Yes. I mean, that totally makes sense to you. Yeah, I agree. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you the date. All right. So we have to do this in pieces just to make sure that we all have this in front of us. Okay. So, and again, like I said, props to Ye Olde Max Lab, making sure that all of this stuff was out there. So you'll notice the date on this. This is actually from the docket, just to make sure that this is correct. From the docket here, this is the date there. Item 22, clerk's entry of default as to LMNOP, John Cook, Marla Hughes. So you would agree that Marla Hughes would have had to mail this letter before the 17th, correct? That would make sense, right? It would have to be in the mail before the date of the 17th. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah. She said before. So therefore, it would have to be in the mail before the 17th, you know, the 16th or prior. Yeah, that would make sense. And you would really think, hey, you know, when she's talking about it, to be honest, I would have thought that she would have done that before this date. But let's just say for the sake of argument, that would be before the 16th or before. I mean, like I said, that makes sense. Yeah. Everybody with me on that? Okay. At least before the 17th. Yes. But at least before the 17th. Okay. So Marla sent in a package deal, right? And it had included on there, it had her proof of mailing. Okay. Now her proof of mailing here it is. You see this right here, right? This is part of the exhibit for it. Yeah. Now, if you look at this, you'll notice up here in the corner, what date does that say? I realize it's a little blurry. I apologize for that. But if you look at that, what date does that tell you, folks? Does that say 16, 15, 14, 13, any of that? Does that say that? It says the 17th. Seems like a problem, doesn't it? Huh. She waited, and she knew that this would not be received until the 19th as well. She was saying that it was held up. See, this is the second part of her statement, too. Makes it sound like she figured it would be delivered before that date. See, that's the way I took her statement to be. So the first part is, I mailed it before. Yeah. And let me see. And really, the only reason it hasn't arrived is because it's stuck in Jacksonville. You know, it hasn't made it there. And that's how the judge seemed to take it too. You know, see, before the default was entered, but it's currently in Jacksonville as I had to mail it in. So this makes it sound like it's been delayed in Jacksonville, right? So it should have gotten there before the date that it was due because she mailed it before. But on the thing, like I said, it was mailed on the 17th. And the date that it states that it's supposed to arrive, it's expected. That's its expected earliest date. Earliest would have been the 19th. Right there. Expected delivery date. So it wasn't held up in the mail. It wasn't late because of something like that. It actually ended up being, she mailed it, and she mailed it on the day the default dropped. So that's a total lie. It's a total lie, Marla. What's up, man? I tell you. Like, we're just supposed to, like, pretend that's not the reality of this. Oh, my God. Like I said, I really feel like people are gaslighting me these days. You know? I really do. I feel like I'm being gaslit. Because, I mean, did they not expect, and it gets worse than this, by the way. There's going to be something else too, which you're going to be like, what now? Wait, the what now? When you read the judge's order on this too, let's see how the judge took what was said. Let's look at that together, okay? Now, will he do anything about this? No. But it's amazing. These people just fucking lie, man. They lie, they lie, they lie. And they lie and they lie. So they talk about the service date, all of that wondrous stuff. The default, how 21 days had gone. She said that she had mailed a motion for an extension to respond to the complaint before. It was before. See, the judge says that. The judge notes that before. It's in his order. Lies. It's delayed and is currently in Jacksonville. She stated that, again, she mailed it before, but it got delayed. That's why it's not on time. He took it that way, right? I mean, when you read his words, that's what it seems to say. That's a suggestion being noted. This makes my head hurt. Isn't that purgatory? Purgatory, baby, purgatory. Oh, my God. It does seem like one hell of a lie. You know, again, there Okay, now it gets a little weirder. You want to see something else that's a little off that I thought was kind of, I guess, fascinating. Now, we've seen Randy Shockett's email about 1 billion times in this this case. Wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you say that as far as Randy, we know he starts with R Shockett, blah, blah, blah. Yeah? I mean, we've seen it on like 1 million things, and the ecosystem definitely knows what his email is because Bruce has thrown it out there in all kinds of shit, right? So it's not a state secret. It's something that they would know a lot about, I would say. Okay, well, Marla, interestingly, as part of her letter too, says that she wrote Randy. Okay. Now, do you want to see what was written to Randy? Because it's and where it went? Because this is kind of fascinating too. So this is again document 33. All right. If you look at this, again, there's not a filing on here or anything. There's just this random fucking thing that goes in to some attorneys at counsel.insure. And it's titled Consent to Continuance from Marla Hughes. Now, again, Randy's email, we know his direct email, not a consultation email, none of that bullshit. We know, and they know. That's the kicker. They know it's rshockett at blah, 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 She wrote, will you consent to a continuance? Marla Hughes. That's it. Like this is some random ass. What is this in response or regard to? Who you're mailing it to? Oh my God, man. So this idea that she was mailing Randy, no, that's not right to Randy. Again, there's only one or two ways to describe that. Either they're lying and they knew straight up that they weren't mailing it straight to Randy, or they don't read any documents at all. I can't decide which one. I can't decide which one. It's strange, though, that someone that has been so obsessed with Jeremy and so obsessed with his lawyer, they wouldn't know direct contact with that. That does seem a little bit hinky, doesn't it? I don't know. Like, again, maybe that's just me here. Maybe I'm just imagining that. Hey, we got over 2,000 people now. Thank you, folks. By the way, like I said, I forgot to tag my freaking my video today. Fridays are slow usually anyway, but I forgot to tag it, so it doesn't always give notifications for today. Half the time, it won't notify or it won't tell people we're live. It's so bizarre when you forget. But I thought this was interesting because again, she went with the whole. Like, I wrote him and stuff. Like, well, what the fuck is this? Like, what is it? You wrote but you wrote the main outlet at the law office? Is that what you're trying to tell me? I'm confused. I'm very confused by what they tried to pull here. Well, I'm not really confused, but we kind of know that these folks they do some weird hinky shit. But it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating to see that sit out there. Give me a second. It also the actual subpoena will have some contact information on it too. Yeah, no case number. That's exactly right. Buck naked. That is 100%. When you're going in and you're noting something, so you just write in this random thing to essentially a switchboard. Not to Randy. You write it into a law office that could be multiple people. When again, the name, the response thing is all over the place. You don't include any contact information. You don't include what this is about. You don't say that this has regard to Jeremy Hales. You don't put a case number. You don't say anything whatsoever that it's in reference to. You just throw out a random email. Like if I got that right there, I'd be like, what is this? Like that's not proper in any way, shape, or form. Now, of course, I'm going to tell you what these people are going to do is they're going to try to play up the pro se portion of this. You watch. It's going to be real ugly in this case. You think it's been ugly before? It's going to be crazy. Yeah, there's another interesting thing too. She also wrote that Randy didn't object, but the way I understood her commentary on that, she was saying that Randy didn't respond to her email. So how does Randy not object? I got thinking about that too, and that is a good note. She was saying that she wrote Randy and that, give me a minute. It's so bizarre, man. All of this is so bizarre, though, because she noted that. Give me 1 minute. So she sent that email. She also says, okay, in this stuff, which is fascinating to me, it's a 6-page filing. All right. And I'm being careful about what I'll pull up here because of everything. Give me a second here. One second. I'm copying something so I can show it to you, okay? It's part of it. It's page 3 of this document. This is, again, props to Max Lamb for that. And again, noting it, because when I looked at it, I thought, this looks hinky. Max Lamb was like, this is crazy, dude. Look at it. Yeah. I was like, all right. I appreciate you folks. When you all do stuff like that, when you're like adamant, like, hey, there is a problem in this. Look at this mess. And you start looking at it. Here's our other thing, too. I'm in contact with an attorney and we are negotiating terms. I emailed Mr. Shockett before the time was up, but he did not reply. I emailed him the longer, more formal request last evening to make sure I complied as with the rules as I know them now. Previously, my understanding. So, okay, wait, what? So Mr. Shockett never replied to you? So you mailed, because this is her email. I mean, this is her mailing to the court, right? This is what she was telling him. So she says in this that he never replied to her. But she also says in her filing that Mr. Shockett does not object to the continuance. How would you know he doesn't object? Am I missing something? Is there a piece of this missing? Like part of a communication? Because again, the judge, what's fascinating to me about all of that is the judge took that as gospel too, The judge just took it as gospel. He said, here we go. Like, check this out. He says, quote, defendant Hughes asserts that plaintiff's counsel does not object to the setting aside of the default. Like that's part of it's in his decision, his words. So, and if I'm missing out on something, it's just weird. I freak you out when I suddenly stop talking. Yeah, I do that sometimes. It's actually, it's where I think about what I'm saying. I used to work with very, very mentally ill people. And you had to be very careful about what you said. When I say very mentally ill people, I'm not trying to be mean about it either. What I mean is people that have just come out of hospitalization oftentimes are very violent under medications, and they may not agree with you on what reality is at all. So when you speak, even in your sentences, you pick your words very carefully. During mental health practices, and I picked that up over a decade, certain speech patterns, because when I think the first time I got bit, that was alarming. The first time I had a rib cracked, that was alarming. Spit on, all kinds of wonderful stuff. But you start to learn. You also learn about escape patterns. Like, I'm going to be able to run out of here. So yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Like it's just becoming ingrained into how I speak now. I just have these dead pauses sometimes because I'm thinking about exactly what I want to say next. It's so bizarre though that when you work with the extremely mentally ill, you become cognizant of your throwaway words. All of us have these throwaway statements that we throw out there here and there, but you don't really think about those. You just you talk, you blah 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 all day long. But when you start dealing with people that can be dangerous to you, well, you start thinking about those words. And it is fascinating too, it is fascinating. We also today, let me zoom in on this. We also had a judge's order that shot down the mailing, because the mailing, what it did, interestingly, is it asked for 30 days. Okay. And Marla, in her filing, asked for 21 days. So her filing she mailed in asked for 30 days. Her other filing, she got a little coaching with it, sounded like. It's strange because they're not the same either. If you look at her, give me 1 minute here. If you look at her filing from before and you read it versus what she filed with the court, it's a lot different. It is a lot different. It also includes, that whole statement, the same one that Lynette Preston and John Cook had, with 117. Not everyone likes it when you tell them Jeff Levis isn't real. No, you run into clients that don't agree with you on any basic things. Oh man, I see thoughts floating outside your head. I can tell what you're thinking. It's like, oh, okay. I hope everything that I'm thinking is nice and calm. I worked with this gentleman one time that he was a big guy, and he would have auditory hallucinations. Big guy, man. He would hear people saying, we're going to say racially charged things, and he had some very violent episodes because of those back in the past, but we gotten him to a good baseline, and we were going through anger management. He started showcasing, I'm going to say, signs that he was having a psychotic break. Sometimes you'll see signs come on, and sometimes it manifests. Well, he kept having these signs, like you could see it in his eyes. There was something off, like the medication wasn't working anymore. So we had an anger management group. We had everybody sit down, and this guy was huge. I cannot understress that enough. This guy was huge compared to me. He was a big guy. And he was sitting there listening. He was fine. And then he fell asleep. Well, all of a sudden, his eyes spring open, and he has that look, crazy eyes, people will call it. That's not a technical term, but you know what I mean. Somebody that is snapped. They're having a break. Well, this guy looked at me like that, and he started screaming in the middle. I mean, we have all these people around too. He starts screaming about others and myself, calling him the N-word. I was like, oh no, this is not going to be fun. So I made sure to, directly speak to him, try to engage, try to calm him down. But of course, he was in the middle of psychotic break. There's no way he's going to calm down at all. So I wanted him to pay attention to me. Now, luckily, he was a big guy, and he used to be in very good shape, but he let himself go somewhat. So around that little circle of people, it's comical, but it's not. Again, I feel bad for the guy, but he decided he wanted to hurt me. And so he took off, and man, I felt like we were playing like Duck, Duck, Goose. I was running around that circle of people. Chasing me. I was trying to get my phone out. I had an emergency call in a nurse, to give him a shot to stop him. Because he was going to hurt somebody. It was something else. Ran around a building a little bit. Finally wore him down a little bit. Oh, what a day. But yeah, you learn from things like that. Sometimes you can't control the moments because you can't agree with a person on reality. And sometimes the mental illness just leaks through. Sometimes, though, there are certain things that do that. You also read the files on people. You get to know them very well before you talk about stuff. And there are a lot of mental practitioners that do not do that. They do not read about the people first, to the person's detriment, and also sometimes to themselves. All right, so the filing, though, let me pull this up here. The filing that was inside of the mailing got answered today, too. This, of course, was going to be denied, but we need to look at it anyway. So upon consideration of the foregoing, it was ordered on the 25th day, April 2025. That would be today for all you playing along. Marla Hughes has moved for 30 days to file a response to plaintiff's initial complaint. That would be Doc 33. This motion appears to be the previously filed motion that was hindered by mailing delays. See Doc 31. Now, by the way, it wasn't hindered by mailing delays. See, this is a bunch of bullshit. The judge says that again. It was hindered by mailing delays. So Marla's excuse was that I put it in the mail before this was filed, before it came in, and it was hindered. Again, it makes it sound like it would have been there previously, but it was not. It would not have been there until the 19th, and they put that in on the 17th, the day she mailed it. So lies, 100%. This fucking judge, dude, he's dealt with people. He's seen the lies come from some of these folks. They're documented, by the way. Like, all he would have to do really is read some of Bruce's literature on LMNOP and JC, because even amongst the spin, it tells you some of the lies. But no, let's just take them at their word. It's fucking fascinating to me. But the court already acknowledged that any response to the initial complaint would be quickly superseded and given the forthcoming amended complaint, and granted defendant Hughes 21 days to respond to the amended complaint after it's filed. Accordingly, this is denied because it's moot. So this mailing that came in, it doesn't matter at all. But it did matter because it disproved some of the stuff that she was saying. And I think that's fascinating. All the judge would have had to do is look at it and look at the docket, but he didn't. Couldn't even be bothered to do that. It's just fascinating me. Or the judge's staff. All they have to do. And again, I'm not surprised he gave them a continuance. Lying to the court, though, is a problem. Either it matters or it doesn't. And apparently it doesn't. It matters if Randy mails something or says something, but it doesn't matter when these people, none of them do anything. It's fascinating to me. I think that says a lot. I think it says a whole lot. Maybe I'm wrong though, right? We'll see. Now, what I'm going to cover, besides that, is some Shara stuff. Let's do some Shara fun. So Shara, she actually, we'll see what we get to because there's a lot of Shara stuff. But this one, I'm going to start with the thing that I mentioned yesterday because this is, I think it's pretty good. By the way, if you enjoy this content, make sure you tell people we're live. Make sure that you hit that like button. And if you'd like to go further and you'd like to help out the show, consider supporting it there. And thank you. So let's check this out. So Shara Wolf here. You can see her tongue now. There's actually a good screenshot of it, but you can see through that she's going to get a reply. Now, what's funny about this whole question and answer thing that happens here is that Shara, again, you can see she took it to their channel and she actually asked a question. Isn't that interesting? You know, when all of this stuff was going on and they were making claims, Shara decided to say, hey, why don't you show me some proof of what you're claiming? Actual proof. So she asked, she put this in there. She said, BBB PR team, please publish the T, quote unquote, protection invoice paid in full and dated. There is a high profile, this is a high profile story, and I am back on the case. Also, I'll be addressing your egregious public lies about me in this video with evidence. It won't get a pass this time. So Shara just straight up called it out. Shara was like, hey, number one, that whole thing about you talking about how you have had a protective order, how you had to go and get them, bring them into court and whatnot. Well, why don't you show us proof that that actually transpired? Also, like she says, you know, she's telling them, I'm on the case. I'm back here and talking about it. And it's interesting to me because these are the same people that spend a lot of time hyping up Shara. You know, they kept saying, and the reason I note this is one specific thing. They attack her now and they say, oh, she's not a journalist. She's not the, oh, well, they told us that she was a journalist before. They told us that she was great, that she did all this great work and more. They just don't like where the work led, I guess. That's the most interesting part of it to me. You know, before, oh yeah, she's definitely their choice. She's beloved on this and more. So they didn't take kindly to it. Look, we get threats and more. Shara /Sharon/Shart. Again, you know, that they said, remember when they said that they never used that? Do you remember that? Because I seem to remember them saying that they never used that term. They have never called Shara that. It was that other guy that did it. And yet, right there, again, for the umpteenth time, we have Shara noted with that. Michelle Wolf, or whatever you call yourself these days, you need to retract your lies about this channel being anyone's PR team in every video. It's simply not true. Huh. So the website and their own words, they don't count. It's so funny. It's so funny when you own a website and you're like, yeah, we are the PR team for these people. We actually are. Then it gets called out and people make fun of you for admitting it. They note it and they're like, hey, you know, this probably isn't good for your conspiracy, you know, to have admitted this outright. What happens after that? Well, we're not a legal team. I mean, again, just to fill that blank in, just to make sure. Here's that again, their own website that they put out there. PR team. They put it out 100%. They've also made statements saying they were. Then they tried to walk it back. Again, that is gaslighting. That is the epitome of gaslighting. Someone makes a statement, they 100% say something to you. Then they try to walk it back and pretend that it never existed. That is gaslighting, just to note. That's a nasty kind of business, too. That's a nasty, particularly nasty shade of business. But they're essentially, oh, you better do this. You better do that. I don't know. I just find that fascinating considering. So let's continue with that. You also need to remove any content you, as Char would say, stole from the channel. That's fascinating. This is a channel, by the way, that they run a fair use notice. You see it? This show makes use of copyrighted material. Such materials are made available for critique, commentary, and educational purposes only. This constitutes a fair use of any such copyrighted material as provided for Title 17 USC Section 106A-117 of the U.S. Copyright Law. So these people that are telling her, you better take down that quote-unquote stolen material, they use a fair use notice. So could you imagine how fast a lawsuit that dealt with that would get slapped down? Because not only would those laws apply, but they themselves, on the same video these comments are made, because somebody else made screenshots of it, they have it above on that, they play a fair use notice. Again, we make use of copyrighted material, but fair use. Oh my God. You can't make this stuff up some days. As for publishing anything, do your own research. Of course, they won't show you any proof of things, right? They won't bring that to anyone like a journalist or more. They refuse to. I'm not actually surprised by that, but isn't that fascinating? Isn't that fascinating? Stop trying to make everyone else do things for you like you did to Michelle. Like you did to Michelle. That's fascinating. Even Bruce had some statements about Michelle and her conduct. Even Bruce. It's so bizarre. Oh, man. Yeah, Wheezy Wheels, I hear you on that. I'll note that when we get toward the end of this. I get that, though. What people did, you notice, Preston is now the victim of Shara too, apparently. Isn't that fascinating? Anybody that disagrees somehow in some way. Not only that, but stop trying. Okay, so when you ask somebody to cover your story and they start asking you for things like this backs up what Shara had said about she would ask for information. You know, she would ask, hey, can I see a police report, or can I see this, or can I see that? And it wouldn't be given to her. Instead, she would get yelled at and more. It'd be uncomfortable sharing things with her. So this, to me, that backs it up there. Apparently, she was supposed to just go in and be a mouthpiece for these folks. They contacted a person randomly. Just a random person out there in YouTube land, or in social media land, rather. And they sold them a story. And then when this person asked for proof and more, they're like, no, you can't have any proof. And a high-profile story, LOL, not yet. It will be. Back to the threats, you know. Like I say, again, Bruce bringing his pals in on his little plan to do stuff is so funny to me, too. Because the thing that he has pulled here, the thing that he's tried to play around with, oh my God. If he ends up suing, like he brought these people in as part of his little conspiracy, that'll be fascinating to watch. It'll be something else to behold, won't it? It will be. Back on the case. Enjoy the ride. Again, I take that as a threat with her too. You know? I personally cannot wait to see how the judge reacts to the credibility of you as a witness, being that the synopsis you wrote about the case in publicly searching for attorneys for Preston and Cook. That should be interesting. Oh yeah, man. That freaking depo that Char gave. They're like, oh, well, she wrote this. Yeah. You know what happens in cases, by the way? People start to figure out things. They start to figure out that, to quote Miss Preston, you are not a nice person. When they start to figure that out, sometimes they change their mind. She also noted that Bruce had high pressured her into doing that. So it'll be fascinating. We'll see what he believes there. A bit of advice, oh my God. When trying to be professional and submit information spell check, oh my God. Oh my God. These people are the farthest from professional that, you know, would be a great idea. Maybe don't eat fucking chicken on the microphone. That's an idea. Don't do this the whole time. That's the most gross shit I've ever heard. Professional my ass. Ugh. Gross, man. Gross, gross, gross. Ugh. My grandfather raised cows. You ever listen to a cow? You ever listen to them eat? You know, they call it chewing cud. You know, where they roll the food up, they chew it with their jaw. Almost, it seems almost like it's distended a bit. Like, that's what that sound reminds me of. When you hear it on there, it's some of the grossest crap I've ever heard. So when people are telling you about quote unquote being a professional, and yet they have no mic control, no mic etiquette, that amazes me. Ugh. I would think a journalist would know better, you know? It would better. Oh, look, you want to see how Megan hurts their feelings? It took me a minute to go through it because I was like, what in the stupid fuck? You know what helps, by the way? If you want to make fun of people with a hashtag or something, make sure that you capitalize the words. Like that. That's it. That way they'll look at it. This actually says, go sit next to Megan on the begging couch. Oh my God, they're so hurt. Like I said, they get so butthurt over the money thing. Oh my God. You've got to admit that's pretty amazing. They're like, oh, that Megan, it really hurts me. It hurts my insides. It hurts my brain. It's so bizarre. These people are crazy, though. 1 minute. Document 20. I was looking at something real quick. Somebody mailed me. I will have to look over that in a minute. I love it when people send me stuff and I'm like, let me look at that. Sorry, I got caught up in that for a minute there. But yes, if you want to mock people, you know, your joke has to land. It has to land not only with the person, but it has to land with the people that are watching too. I guess that assumes that Lori, it's funny. Lori said a 50. She's like, they'll be upset by that. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can tell that they're upset by stuff. You can see it because again, they're like, go sit next to Megan on the begging couch. That's a money comment. They're like, oh, my money. It's because ultimately at the end of the day, they don't get support. What usually rolls in, they have to play the victim in some way. You know, they have to tell you, oh my God, let me use some alligator tears. I'm gonna cry for you today because Jeremy was so mean. You know, something like that. You know, or guess what he did today? And then what's our newest thing? You know, whatever the newest thing is. I think they're circling back to Afghan and Memorial. I think they're going back to that, weirdly enough. Okay, so look at these people, by the way. They're like, and Char is like, how does your boss's synopsis, quote unquote, affect my credibility? Char rolls it here too. I like it. I like, she was like, okay. So how does your boss's synopsis, talking about that letter there, how does that affect my credibility? Speaking of spell check, you misspelled synopsis, making it plural. I hate it when people, by the way, try to pull like they did the Shara here. They tried to pull the old grammar Yahtzee bullshit. When these people, again, remember, they didn't know the difference between guillotine and, you know, we talked about that for the longest time. What's a gauntlet? Oh, they thought it was a guillotine. I mean, you have no right. And again, I don't grammar Nazi people. I laugh at some of the stupid mistakes people make sometimes. But that's neither here nor there, especially if they pop up in a law document. But these people wanting to play the grammar Yahtzee, are you kidding me? When you go to that level too, when you're pointing out typos, you actually have no argument. Like, that's what that always meant. Oh no. I'm gonna bug Nate. That's funny. I like that though. Didn't speaking of that, you know, you misspelled synopsis, making it plural. Didn't your boss tell you I refused to write the second synopsis he commanded me to write? In fact, I refused a few things. Huh. Now that would be an interesting discussion too. Sure. I'm curious about that. I'm curious about what all. Now we did see her refuse a couple of things in some of the messages, but I'd be curious what else she was asked to do too. She noted that Bruce had conversations with her where his big plan was to sue so he would get famous. Sue a bunch of YouTubers, sue this person, sue that person, you know, get that fame, get that infamy. I'm curious exactly what, you know. You're like, boss, what boss? I am my own boss, so no. Let's see. Do you remember Bruce rolling in how many times there and telling them how to read documents? You cover this page. You cover that page. You do this. You do that. Yeah, it seems like you got a boss, all right. And it seems like Bruce he's been telling you exactly what you should or shouldn't do. Again, you noted your other people's PR. I would say that would make you their lackey too. But beyond that, Bruce going and telling you, and you doing it, you know, when he's sitting around in chats doing shit like this. Give me a second here. He's sitting around being like, read the next 2 lines. Go over my document for me now. Who's in charge? It looks like they got a boss, doesn't it? It looks like LMNOB. You know? Oh my God. Look like he just tells them exactly what to do, and they just gobble it up. So let's go back. So you're trying to claim this is not your synopsis? It's yours, Twinkle Toes. Oh my God. So cringy, man. So cringy. Ugh. This person calling you anything. I'd have been like, shut the fuck up, Gummo. You know, I wouldn't deal with it. I would be like, all right, okay. Are you kidding me? They can't stand it. Shara like is wrecked in there. You wrote it and you signed it. It's yours. Nice trying to spin there. I remember all these folks pulling up letters when Bruce sends them to them, telling them that this is your narrative. Why don't you go over this? Just giving them screenshots and more to go over. But yeah, they don't do that. No one can command you to do anything you don't want to do. If so, then you are weaker than I believed you were. You have no strength here either. Go try to manipulate a different community chart. This one will not fall for your lies and dirty deleting. Remember, they loved her. They absolutely loved Shara. They did. Remember all the love. All of it until, and they talk about dirty deleting too, which is really funny. Like I said, considering Marla's epiphany that she gave us. I mean, remember that Marla told us these are the people that like to say other folks delete things, but they said, now they can spin it how they want. Fucking thing. Give me a second. Oh man, there we go. The thing locked up for a second. I was like, no. Here we go. Let's try to get this thing right here. God, I hate that thing. StreamYard's locked up for a second. I was like, no, you're not going to lock up on me. So, Marla themselves, as far as deleting is concerned, told us that they had a Google Drive full of quote-unquote research. But Shara scared them so badly that they ended up deleting everything because Char could access it. Again, that tells you you don't have any fucking research. You don't have anything. What that did is show, it probably showed them in a very bad light. You were afraid we would misuse our research. We were just afraid of it. We're afraid of you. So calling people dirty deleters is a fascinating little dilly, considering, you know, when you look at that, I think that says otherwise. I think that says, yeah, these people, they, I think they do a little bit of deleting on their own. Give me 1 minute. It's so funny too. Community, you know, these folks, yeah, they're great together until somebody asks a question, right? Ask donor Dave, the owner David, or David the donor, whichever you want to call him. Ask him what he thinks about their community. Ask him exactly how he feels about it being included or not included in that, because they kicked him out into space real fast, didn't they? So this whole idea of quote unquote community, I've seen them turn on other people too, real quick. Like, again, for just asking questions in chat. Like, to me, that's pretty bizarre. It's outlandish behavior to do. That was actually, okay. That's funny. Now they're the same people who decided they wanted to grammar Nazi it up. They're like, oh, well, that was actually auto-corrected. But I'm going to leave it here because you wrote plenty of synopsis short. Or did you forget? Does your boss know that? LOL. They all that work and they get one like on it, by the way. Oh my God. That's so funny. I kind of love it. I kind of think it's hilarious. They put in all that groundwork, all that legwork, and for what? Oh man. Give me 1 second here. You know what? I think tomorrow I'm going to cover this stuff off of Facebook that Shara has put up. I don't want to do it tonight. I think I'm going to rest some tonight. I'm tired. Actually, I'm not tired as much. The kids are visiting grandma, and I think I'm going to kick my legs up and rest you know, and get well. So I'm going to read some super chats and then I'm going to bounce. You have to forgive me. I'm going to cut it a little short. Green Veg Beast, thanks for the 5. Hey, Megan, is the washing machine okay? Is this love or am I dreaming? If you're Morgan and awful hard, most people used their husband, whatever. That's funny. That is so funny. I got Rhea Rye, by the way, again. Happy birthday to you. Max Lab, thanks for the 2 there. Yes, the major lies. I'm glad we covered that. And thank you again, Max Lab. Appreciate you, buddy. Fallen Hero, thank you for the gifted membership, too. Thank you, Fallen Hero. I appreciate it. That's cool of you. Again, I'm cutting this pretty short. So we got about 25 super chats instead of, they'll go a lot faster because I'm cutting an hour plus off the stream. But like I said, I'm just kind of, Weezy Wheels, thanks for the 20 there for my favorite little tuglets. Have a great weekend, girl. So thank you for that. That is much appreciated too. Yeah, tomorrow they should be home about, they'd be home early enough. I might take them somewhere or not. I think I'm going to pick them a movie or something. Lord, thanks for the 20 there. Yeah, isn't that purgatory? Yes, purgatory. It's the Mason. Okay, thanks for the 5. Marla Hughes isn't known for her honesty. This doesn't shock me, huh? What? Are you kidding me? Actually, the encounters I've had with Marla Hughes, by the way, have been pretty stupid, I'm going to say. I see her a lot over on the Hale's quote unquote fan page. And yeah, she defends everything that those crazy people over there do. Everything. It doesn't matter what they do. They are always in the right. And it's wild, some of the stuff that ends up getting defended. Like Bug Naked said with that too. Didn't include cases or anything, which was crazy. Rachel, thanks for the 5. She also wrote that Randy doesn't object. Yeah, we noted that too. Thank you. Andre, thanks for the 2. Too many lies. They can't keep things straight. Indeed. It seems like juggling everything has been a mess there. I noted that from Reezy Wheels. Thank you. Thank you for the concern too. I appreciate it. I noted that too for Max Lab. Thank you, Max Lab. I appreciate it. I did catch that though. Thank you. Becky, thanks for the 5 there. Do you think emailing Blind Box the continuation is part of the spin to continue to paint Randy as a villain? Just a thought. Yeah. They definitely want to paint him to the judge as some kind of bad guy. But you know what? You aren't owed anything as a pro se witness. The judge, if he wants to cut them some slack, he can. But they are supposed to, in the eyes of the court, a pro se litigant, they are the same as a person that has a lawyer. Because, I decide I'm going to pick up a lawyer. That doesn't make me any better or worse in that instance. What's crazy about this stuff too, the judge did show bias in that. Again, he wrote them a letter. I've never seen a judge do that, ever. Hey, I'm going to do an advertisement. Maybe you can get a lawyer. I've never seen it. That is so beyond fucked up. When I was at that, there have been about, so far in that case, I think there are 3 things that on an appeal, if you put them all together, you could potentially get any decision reversed. And I believe if he doesn't call out something that happened in federal case 1, if there's a decision that goes against Hale, he could appeal it and potentially get it reversed. There's screw ups there, big screw ups. But yeah, I think so. Kano, yes, thanks for the 5 there. Can Jeremy challenge the judge's ruling in default? Or would it be more appropriate to challenge on appeal if the ruling doesn't go his way? You could ask the judge to look it over. You're probably not going to win that, though. With defaulting, they don't like to default judge. They don't. So you're probably not going to win that. Now, the way some of the stuff happened, like LMNOP, for example, trying to litigate the case when she wrote in and the judge just ignoring what they had done. No proper filings, no nothing. And this case isn't about them supposedly being able to do anything. And some of the judge's response, I think you can make a case for, again, an appeals court to say this is inappropriate. Let me see, I mean, the trier of fact, when you get down to it, like I said, we'll see how this all goes. And again, I'm not saying that because of if I thought there was stuff that Randy had put in that would bias a court against Preston, if it was inappropriately brought in. I mean, you think about this. That would be the same as Jeremy. If Jeremy busted in and put in a document that spelled out all of these accusations about them without going through any kind of process or anything else. That's essentially what Bruce did. Bruce knows better. Bruce is an officer of the court. He knows better. You're not supposed to cut pro se people any type of slack with that. And if Bruce gets, again, we'll see what happens when the hammer drops. But I don't know. But yeah, can you appeal? You wouldn't really aim for the default judgment portion. I mean, that would be something. Again, you would look more at other stuff that happened. And with defaults, the reason it's very simple. The reason they don't like them is because you lose a lot of your rights with a default judgment. You know, you don't get to face an accuser. You don't get to put on any kind of defense. And some of the stuff that you're dealing with there, you know, you may be dealing with life-shattering amounts of money. So they want to make sure that you're not going to go in and be able to appeal that too, which makes sense. You know, you get to keep your rights and you don't get to appeal and have it reversed on them. Death's Angel dropped 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, Death Angel. That is cool of you. I appreciate it. Wheezy Wills, thanks for the 5 there. I'm not an emotional person in a normal sense, but today I was blubbering wreck when I received a teddy bear, which had my mom's voice recorded with it. Yeah, I could see that. I can. I found a tape one time. I was going through a bunch of stuff, and it had somebody that I'd lost. And I mean, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. You know, it's the unexpected thing to it. It does. It'll hit you right in the feels, hit you hard, and that's okay. That's normal. You know, you care about somebody, of course, they're going to hit you like that. It's okay to feel. It is 100%. Lori dropped a 50 there. Let them be hurt by this, indeed. Poor babies. Those poor babies. Bug Naked, thanks for the 5 there. Last night it was witchcraft, voodoo, and druidism. I had to leave and then lit the sage. What I don't like, you know, you believe whatever you want. What I don't like is the hypocrisy behind a lot of this stuff. You know, the way these people pull it up. The things that they throw in. I mean, the warping of faith, whether it be Christianity in certain channels. No, I'm doing this stuff right. I'm blessing your crystals. Okay. All right. Okay. Emma, thanks for the 2. I don't like this judge so far. I will see, you know, again, he's the same man. I think that he bought into the indigent thing. I think you need to combat that. You know, I very much do. But I also am not Randy, you know, so I'm not trying to say what he should or shouldn't do. But I do think that some of that needs to be knocked out there. Kat, thanks for 31 months. Great coverage on What the Hales. How's the Waldman and Barisi case? From what I understand, Christina Taft had a court. This is Paul Barisi actually put something up about that. Give me 1 minute. I think that's a good question. He put up a statement. Give me a minute. Paul Barisi. Let me see. He put in, so Christina Taft's Hawaiian TRO against me is dismissed. The judge calls out the little monster out on her 2 failed previous attempts to get TROs against me in Honolulu, and lying to the court I was served when video shows the deputy walking away with papers. So that was an interesting post. And I think there was another one. He posted on the 16th. Tennessee Judge Lori S. Glenn issues warrant for crazy Christina Taft's arrest for annoying my witness in federal court with repetitive texts and calls. Now she's having lunatics pound on her front door and peering in my witness's windows. Witness tampering has escalated to her, even using U.S. Postal Service to stalk and harass my witness. What the what now? So that's been his post. I mean, his posts have been wild about it. So, I mean, it's a bunch of lunacy, you know? It is a bunch of lunacy. Max Lab, thanks for the tea. JH said, fraud motion coming soon on LP. See, that indigent status thing there should be a motion that talks about that. Because again, she's not reporting stuff and it's biasing the court. So that should happen. I 100% would file one. I don't think I would let that go. Not at all. I agree with that. Because the court, I mean, they put out, oh, let me get you a free lawyer. I mean, they have access to all that fucking money though. But they're playing this game, and this game is crazy. So anyway, I'm going to end here. I'm going to go rest for a bit. I'm not feeling the greatest today. I think it's the weather. So I'll probably pick up the rest of that stuff tomorrow. I know a short stream, but hey, you know, it is what it is. Appreciate you folks. Go check out Expert later on. But yeah, I'm ending early. Thanks.